Okay, so it's time to talk about Dust, an Elysian tale. So I'm gonna have to turn down the audio of this gameplay quite a bit, actually, because there's a lot of talking at the beginning of my game capture, because I got to a town and people just blabbing at me the whole time, giving me side quests and whatnot. Is a whole deal. Anyway, so
Honestly, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
They'll just keep coming back.
What is this game? What is this Dust, an Elysian tale? Well, it's allegedly a Metroidvania, although it doesn't feel very Metroidvania. Yes, there are things that you can backtrack to, but it's not as backtracky, and it just doesn't feel as intricately designed as your standard Metroidvania. It's got RPG-ish elements to it. It's got, well, let's just get this out of the way right off the bat. It's got a heavy furry vibe. Like, it just feels like furries. If you're into furries, boy, this is a game for you, because you are constantly followed around by a winged cat who is like, has a little girl voice, basically, little anime voice, and she's the guardian of the sword. You have this sword, you wake up, you get a sword. It runs you through this whole backstory of like, once the land was okay, I forgot it already, and then you get this talking sword that's like, hey, your name is Dust because you don't have a name and you have amnesia. And then you pick up the sword and the little Tinkerbell guardian flying cat is like, hey, no, none of that. I don't want you to have the sword. But the sword is like, hold on there, he can hold me and touch me and whatnot. And yeah, then you pick up the sword and then you go. And it's a lot of hack and slash. And it is controlled only with keyboard and mouse. There is no controller support, which is supremely irritating, given the amount of like button mashing that you're gonna do, and given the fact that, like, okay, I'm just gonna say it, people need to know this, like, if you are gonna make the Q and E buttons action buttons, like, come on. Come on. Do you have any idea what a pain in the butt that is? We're already doing WAS and D, and if we're gonna do Q and E in addition to that, like, come on. It's just, it's a little much, and my fingers get tired, and I wish I was holding a controller, because some types of gameplay lend themselves to controller. And if you told me, like, hey, it's Metroidvania, I'd be like, controller? And then you'd be like, no. And I'd be like, oh, come on now. Anyway, but like, this game is beloved by a lot of people. It is. If you look at the Steam reviews, it is overwhelmingly positive. Very positive recently, overwhelmingly positive overall. A lot of people like this game. This game came out in 2013, and honestly, like, I feel like my tastes in video games have changed. And yes, I am still the guy who goes around scraping the bottom of the barrel, so I can't claim that I have a particularly refined palate. I'm not that highfalutin. I'm not like, oh, it's AAA for me or nothing. But like, yeah, this comes to us from humble hearts, but it was published by Xbox Game Studios, so they got major distribution. So yeah, like, so many of the aspects of this game feel not quite done. Like, I hit a glitch at a certain point where I accidentally slipped backward off a ledge, and it took me to the previous area, and all of the guys I had just killed were just standing there like, huh? And then I, like, blipped and then disappeared back to the area where I actually was. it was confusing and weird. But more than that, like, it just doesn't look super great in terms of even comparison to other games that came out at the time. It feels very like deviant artish, which is not to like degrade, like there are some fantastic artists on DeviantArt. I'm talking about like, you know, real like amateur stuff. You know, not people who are getting paid for like commissions and whatnot. I'm talking about like the supremely like deep scroll DeviantArt kind of stuff. That's what the graphics in this game feel like to me. And the fact that they're furry, look, I don't get the furry thing. I don't. But I'm also not the sort of person who is going to be like, oh, that's your thing? It's stupid. Like, just because I don't understand it does not make it inherently stupid. But I do have to say that I don't understand it. And like, you know, it plays into some tropes that I feel are really tired. You know, the whole thing with the guy who covers his eyes. He's very mysterious and he has amnesia and he's kind of a loner. You know, like, that's your main character. And then, like, little Tinkerbell who talks too much. Like, yeah, that's another trope. And she has a total anime girl voice. And, like, Talking Sword, who is the wise sage who tells you where you must go and what you must do. And the secret to your past is found here. You know, like, it's... Alright, then. Okay. I will say this. There is entirely too much lore. You know, if you've watched this channel for a while, that one of the things that really pisses me off is when a game just top loads the lore and is like, we've built this incredible world, man. It's so much lore. Oh my god. Like, I just got done playing so much. Like, I was heavily obsessed with Dead Cells for a bit there, and I'm putting it down for a little bit. I'll come back to it eventually. It's a, you know, it's a roguelike, so even though I have beaten that first boss, or like, not the first boss, the first playthrough, because there's more bosses and more areas, and there's a boss, a whole bunch of stuff unlocks after you defeat the, you know, the King's Guard for the first time, and then, you know, you do things. I'm not gonna spoil it. But anyway, like, so yeah, things happen, and then you get new abilities, and you can go through and play in different ways and whatnot. It's pretty cool, but also, like, I feel like I'm obsessed enough, and I wanted to play something new, and so this is what I turned to, because I've had this game in my library since forever, and I was like, hey, let's do this. I want a hack and slash kind of a thing. And I remembered not loving the graphics and finding the main character a little stiff in the way that he walks, and a little contrived in the way that it's put together. But I was like, you know what, maybe it's fun. And I will admit, there are aspects of this that are indeed fun. The combo system, pretty solid. Like, well, I don't know about pretty solid. It feels kind of random at times. It's sometimes hard to control. But, like, you know, it's always fun to hit things. That's true. But you're going to hit a lot of the same kind of things for a while, and it's just, you know, a thing that you're going to end up doing. And I know that there's a lot more game than the amount of game that I played. I put like 45 minutes into it, something like that. I feel like you can get a decent feel for a game in that amount of time. You know, you don't know everything about it, but you know enough to know what you like and know what you don't like. And what I don't like about this game, let me be very clear about this. I don't like the lore dumps. I don't like the constant dialogue. Thank God you can skip it, because, oh boy, everybody wants to talk to you, and they have a mouthful. I can't even imagine sitting through all that dialogue. Ugh. just unbearable. And like it just, it falls a little flat. It doesn't feel great. Like, and maybe it just suffers in comparison because it's not as good as Dead Cells, because it's not. It is not as good as Dead Cells. That is for dang sure. It is nowhere near. But you know, I watched a video on a guy who got through a bunch of games in his backlog, because that's something that I've been meaning to do. And one of the things he suggested was to, like, if you start playing a game, give it a chance, give every game a chance. But if it's not the vibe, then it's not the vibe. And it's okay to put it down and to be like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to play this one all the way through. I'm never going to know how this game ends and what things I'm missing, and I'm perfectly okay with that because I have hundreds of other games. I have so many games, people. It's a problem. It's a significant problem. It's why this channel exists in the first place. So, I'm telling you, like, this game falls flat for me. It's moderate amounts of fun. It's, you know, in its fun parts. It's really tedious in its tedious parts. And I don't love the main character and the little girl who Wing Cat who follows you around. I just wish she'd shut up most of the time. It's like kind of embarrassing, her character design, and I know it's based off of well-worn tropes, but they're tropes that I don't like. So it just doesn't hit the mark for me, and that's okay. I'm okay with not being overly impressed with this game. I do give it full marks for what it is and what it did in the time in which it did it, but I think that for me, it's just not it. And apologies to everybody who really enjoys this. And hey, if this game looks like something you would enjoy, like, go play it. I've got nothing against that. Like, you don't have to follow my recommendation on everything. Oh, look, it's on sale right now. So yeah, it's a perfect time that if this looks like something that you want to play, then absolutely pick it up. But for me, I'm putting it down and I'm not picking it back up. And I am okay with that. Anyway, people, let me put a final score on it, and then we will leave this by the wayside. Alright, so final score-wise, I am giving Dust, an Elysian Tale, a 6.5 out of a possible 10 furry Putins. This is Vladimir Putin as a furry, because I asked an AI to do this. I was like, hey AI, start generating images of famous and or infamous people as furries, and most of the names that I put in, it did not want to do. First of all, you have to be able to use somebody just by last name alone, and you know, it needs to be enough not to trip the sensors, because when you're asking it like, hey, make someone as a furry, they're gonna be like, oh, we're not doing weird sex stuff for you, which is understandable. But I just want to see what certain people would look like as a furry because it's hilarious. That's it. Like, because I was thinking about, like, well, I've got to do some sort of furry, and then I was like, well, I'm not delving into the world, I'm not typing furry into my browser. And I was like, what if I made AI make me one? And then I was like, what if I made AI turn someone into a furry? And that's how we get furry Putin. Doesn't that look like Putin? I don't know what kind of animal that is. It's like a bald raccoon or something. I don't know. But like, that's Putin. That's who that is. That's what he looks like when he shows up to the furry convention. Anyway, and yeah, so I think people are not going to believe me when I say that furries are not my thing. They are not my thing. Again, no shame to anybody who has that thing. I know people who are into furries. I do. I legitimately do. And my approach to that is like, I don't care. Like, that's your own thing. Don't invite me to those parties, but feel free to invite me to your other parties because I like you and I'll still come over. Anyway, so yeah, let's not get off on the whole thing. But the game has undeniable furry vibes. It's inescapable. I'm sorry, that is what it is. And so I had to give furry final score, and I gave it a 6.5 out of 10 because, like, it's not crap. It's not a terrible thing. It just is not the vibe for me. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, people. Apologies for everything. Just apologies. Blanket apologies for any and all the things. If you hit, like, because sometimes when people see my videos and they hit the thumbs down button, I'm like, oh, what didn't you like about it, little camper? But other times when people hit the downvote button, I'm like, nah, I get it. And this would be one of these ones where if you hit the down button, I'd be like, well, I suppose I deserve that. All that furry talk. Anyway, let's be done with this forever. Okay, bye.